Welcome to KRA's The Hub, the official podcast of KRA Corporation. And now get ready to hear workforce topics and trends you need to know on the go.
Well, welcome to KRA's The Hub podcast. This is Jonathan Overall, the host of KRA's The Hub podcast. I am here today live in Monterey, California at the California Workforce Association, also known as CWA, the Meeting of the Minds Workforce Conference. And I'm joined by a special guest who's also at the conference, Nia Ford, Workforce Services Specialist for the Alameda County Workforce Development Board. Nia, it's great to reconnect with you.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and reconnect with you.
Well, these conferences are always a great time to meet new people, network. Meeting of the Minds is actually distinct from many of the workforce conferences that we have a chance to go to as workforce professionals. The audience is majority leaders, and they call it Meeting of the Minds for a reason. We're coming, we're hearing, sharing ideas at the cutting edge of workforce development that are strategic in mind and really focused on the future of workforce development. But I want to start with you. Tell us about your role with the Alameda County Workforce Development Board and what do you do?
So, like you mentioned, my title is Workforce Service Specialist. And basically what that means is I work on special grants and projects as they come in. So right now I have 3 projects that I'm working on. One is around apprenticeships. And so it basically just entails employer outreach and engagement. And looking to expand, grow, or even start a pre-apprenticeship or a registered apprenticeships. So right now I'm just kind of fishing, looking for the landscape of the apprenticeships in my area and seeing where the needs are and seeing where we can possibly plug in. I'm doing a lot of learning and meeting. Just working a lot about apprenticeships. It's a constant conversation everywhere I go, so I'm excited about that. I know it's being supported through our current administration, so that's good. A lot of money is being put into it, so that's one project. And then I have another project. It's a pilot a medical assistant training program. It's going to be done online, 20 weeks. And so it's a pilot program we're doing. And so I'm working with that. And then it's going to have an in-person externship at the end. So we'll see how that goes. What's different? Well, there's a lot of different things about it. But one thing that comes out is it's a braiding formula, or what is it called? Grading funding formula. So there's 3 entities that are, kind of joining in and on this pilot program. And that makes it very unique and providing a lot of technical assistance. So that's exciting. The class actually starts Monday, September 8th. So excited about that. And then there's a work and wellness initiative that we have. And so basically there's 2 components to it. The wellness is just the wellness piece of our participants that we serve, our WIOA participants, our job seekers, just kind of checking in on their wellness, while they're job searching and in transition for youth and adults. So we're looking to provide workshops and toolkits and resources about wellness. That'd be something important to touch on. I don't think a lot of agencies or boards are doing that. That's exciting. And then the other component about it is job quality. So there's a lot of talk about job quality. There's a lot of definitions about it. What does it mean to, our agency, our board? And so we are looking to find or connect with employers that can identify with our definition of job quality, and kind of make them champion employers, set apart, from the rest of the employers, and basically, trying very slowly to change the conversation or thought process of employers, so they can kind of focus on the well-being of, their employees and retention strategies. So, yeah. And then I do other miscellaneous things, contract development, which is a new game for me. So
that's great. So you have a lot of different projects in different areas too. So you probably never get bored in doing what you do, obviously. And I know with the times that we're in, there are always different unique challenges, but especially the type of work that you're doing that is very unique.
Yes, it is. Well, I've been in workforce services for about 15 years, but this particular role is new for me because it's an administrative role. So in the beginning, well, I'm always going to be learning from the beginning to the end, but in the beginning, when I just started, which was last year, there was a lot of learning involved. Just recently, I said like in the last 2 or 3 months, things picked up. And so I'm learning that when you're working with contracts, it takes a very long time to get the partners to develop the contract. And, different people have to kind of weigh in on it. And, just working with funding, period, it can take a very long time. Things happen, things change, and there's a lot of technical assistance. So that's new for me. But I'm learning. And like I said, in the last couple months, things have really picked up, which is good.
Well, you've mentioned funding, and you also mentioned shortly a little bit ago about apprenticeships.
Yeah.
And in the climate of uncertainty, you noted that this administration has put a focus on apprenticeships.
Yeah.
I think a lot of organizations and workforce are thinking about what that looks like. What's our role in that apprenticeship model? But it really speaks to the times of uncertainty that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is the backdrop of this conference. The theme this year at Meeting of the Minds is Fearless Forward.
Yes.
What does that mean to you? When you think about the work that you're doing, thinking about what we're currently in this economy and workforce period, and thinking about the future, what does Fearless Forward mean to you?
Well, for me, it's a little personal and professional. Basically, I can summarize it as doing things that I haven't done before, doing things that I kind of was shy away from, doing things that I'm not comfortable in doing but I know there's a need and I know that I'm able and capable in doing it. So I just got to do it, even if there is fear or some doubt or whatever, just doing it. And I can give a couple examples. It's small, but it's meaningful to me. One thing, there was a presentation yesterday, at the conference. And I tend to kind of sit in the back, but my manager was sitting like in the front and it was like, 200 people, in the room or more. And my first, reaction was just to sit in the back like I always do, but I sit in the front with my manager. And so I felt proud of myself because I was more attentive. It was more meaningful for me. Just by doing something simple, sitting in the front, like I said, it's small, but it's meaningful to me. Another example is I am not good with numbers. And so in this particular role that I'm doing, working with contracts, budgets, invoicing, like it's difficult. It's very challenging for me, but I'm up for the challenge. It has to be done. And it's a skill that I have to learn. Like I said, I've been in workforce services for a long time, but I've always been on the frontline services. I've always worked directly with job seekers and I haven't went to the administrative role, even though, I was advised and encouraged to do so. So, just stepping into those difficult skill sets that I know I can do, not totally comfortable, but, I'm willing to put the work. Just last week, I stayed an hour after work, which I never do. I'm always leaving on time. But I stayed an hour after work just to finish a budget table because I was, it just has to get done, right? The more you do something, the better you get at it. And so I'm pretty confident that, I'll do better. And, there was some data related workshops at the conference. So I attended that. And normally I wouldn't have attended that. I would have just not even attended a data anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I'm like, you got to learn, like it's here.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm here for. Same thing with AI. I know it's here, it's coming. And normally I wouldn't have attended it because it's just something I shy away from. But again, I went because I got to learn. Like, I'm not directly serving job seekers as I have in the past, but I'm still on the other side and I need to be in the know and I need to be a part of the ongoing conversation. So again, a long story short, just stepping into areas where, I was fearful or doubtful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that because that's where growth happens.
Yes.
Having a mindset of growth, stepping out even when things are uncertain. And again, I think we can both relate. When you step into new opportunities, you don't always know what's around the corner. but growth in your career, personally,
Yeah.
and in a professional way comes through taking those steps forward. So thank you for that insight. And I always like to talk about the theme because I believe it's both inspirational, but at conferences like this, we meet new people, we hear ideas. Sometimes I'll sit through a workshop and then it's one aha moment that is the light bulb that inspires me to go back to my work, plan, think strategically, lead my teams in a different way. Have you had any moments like that thus far at this conference that you say, you know what, when I get back to the office, I'm going to approach and plan to do the work differently because of what I gathered at the conference?
Yeah, I've had a lot of moments, and too bad I don't have my notes to refer back to. But one thing that kind of stands out is there was a keynote speaker yesterday that spoke at one of the presentations, and he talked about how the educational system basically is just kind of failed. And it's just no longer, it was built off of old systems, old policies and laws. And as long as I've been in workforce services, I've never heard anyone say that. And I've always felt it. But, it was just never said. It was just one of those things that you just kind of don't say. You tell job seekers, you tell young people to go to school and get a job and stay there. That's it. But this presenter, he had a totally different perspective and basically just saying, how the educational system needs to change. You can no longer, the model just doesn't fit our generation, our current generation of young people. You can't just tell someone to go to school, get a degree, pay back your college loans, and stay at the job until you retire. And then after you retire, you basically, that's it. That just doesn't apply to the story anymore. That kind of made me feel more comfortable to have those conversations with job seekers. Working with WIOA and the Workforce Development Board, there's so many training opportunities. There's so many opportunities to earn certifications, apprenticeships, and just different ways, to get into careers. You don't have to go to school for 4, 6, or 8 years just to, make a living wage. There's other ways. Yeah, I feel confident about that. Based upon what the presenter said and just how his whole approach was. His title of his presentation was Redefining the Goal. So it's the same goal. We don't want you to get careers, but go about it a little bit differently, especially like with the earn and learn models with apprenticeships. There was a video that he showed of a little, maybe 7-year-old girl. She was kind of doing something silly and, she had a little thing going on. And then he followed up with the video and asked the audience, how many jobs do you think she's going to have in her future? And everyone kind of thought, probably, 1 to 5, just like whatever, the average or whatever. And he actually said 21.
Wow.
And we were all surprised, like 21. But then again, it goes back to the shift in culture. This is just what our generation is doing. But that's not how I grew up. That's not my generation, right? I was always told to, go to school, get your degree, get a job and stay there. But again, like I said, that just doesn't apply. That really just helped shift my thought process about it with young people and with my own family, peers, and, the people that I serve. So, yeah.
It's great insight because personally, I think we can relate to that depending on whatever generation you're in. I know sometimes the categories seem to change, but I think we know there's boomers, X, millennials, and now Gen Z. And that really impacts our understanding of the customers that we're serving, but also the people that we're leading within our organization. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's a great takeaway for all of us to keep in mind. Well, Nia, it's been great to reconnect with you here and exciting to hear the work that you're doing in Alameda County. And thank you for joining us here at KRA's The Hub.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for listening to KRA's The Hub. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To learn more about KRA Corporation, visit www.kra.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back soon with a new episode.